Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Gizmo Joe. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the Xiaomi Redmi Note 5. Now, I've had the Note 5 in my possession for about a week now, and I've put it through its paces. I actually took it on a trip with me, and I've been really impressed with this particular phone. I paid about 330 Australian dollars for this particular phone. I got it off of Xiaomi's Aliexpress store. You can get it on GearBest and Geek Buying and stuff like that, but I've found that GearBest isn't shipping anything to Australia that has a battery in it anymore. Geek Buying tends to be a little bit more expensive, so AliExpress was actually the cheapest way to get my hands on this phone. Now, be aware that if you do grab it from AliExpress, you will get hit with the 10% GST if you are here in Australia. So it's a bit pricey, but I think you get a lot of phone for that price. So if you watch my unboxing, you'll know that I was very impressed with the build quality. It's all metal on the back. Obviously, you get your antenna bands up here. I think they're plastic to allow for the signals to get through and whatnot. And you've got the dual camera setup, which is a actual true dual camera. So I know like a lot of the cheaper brands and stuff like that, it's all fake. But this phone just feels really solid in the hand. It's got an 18:9 aspect ratio, and you're looking at a 5.99 inch screen, so it might as well be 6, but that's a 5.9 across there. You got your fingerprint scanner. Xiaomi's still including the IR blaster, so infrared blaster, so you can actually program it to work as like a TV remote, which is actually really handy. One of the criticisms about this particular phone is that it charges via micro USB as opposed to USB-C. That really doesn't bother me because, it's not that big of an issue to me personally. A lot of people seem to think that, by now it should be USB-C. Again, it's total personal preference in my opinion. I mean, you get better, performance, I guess, from a USB-C, but micro USB is fine. The speaker here is not fantastic. It is certainly loud enough for most people's use, but my old Xiaomi Redmi Note 2, which I think came about in 2014, 2015, I feel has better sound, but it's not a huge issue for me. You'll also notice that it has a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which is a nice touch. Just like to be able to use my old headphones. Anyway, the performance of this particular phone is quite good. It is running the Snapdragon 636 processor, which is fairly new, and it performs really well. I use the EV launcher, so obviously it looks a little bit different to Mi UI, but I've got a lot of apps, nothing too crazy, but I find that it's very fluid switching between them. I could have multiple apps open, no big deal. It's all functions really well. So there's a couple different variants of this particular phone. And it's quite confusing, and it's one of the things that Xiaomi I don't particularly like about them, but there's like 4 or 5 different Xiaomi Redmi Note 5s out there, and they have different configurations, different amount of RAM, different ROMs, all that sort of stuff. So this one that I have in my hand right now is a 4 gigabyte RAM with a 64 gigabyte onboard storage. Now, I should also mention that this phone has the ability to take a micro SD card as well. I got a 64 gig in there now, but it's capable of taking up to 128. So I think I might grab one of those just so I can put a lot more music and stuff on it. Now, I've had Xiaomi phones in the past. I've always been really impressed with them. I think they perform really well. And again, this one is no exception. The Snapdragon 636 processor functions really well. Multitasking, no problem. It is a smooth experience. Everything functions the way it would. Build quality is fantastic. It really looks like a phone that is worth a hell of a lot more than it actually is. But the biggest reason I picked this phone over any other phone to be my daily driver is because of the camera. Now, I had read lots of reviews. I saw lots of YouTube videos, especially from Chris over at Tech Tablets, who said that this camera is really impressive. And especially, it's probably one of the best that you can get for the price range. So that really intrigued me because, as you guys know, if you've watched my channel, I review a lot of Chinese phones, and the camera is usually always abysmal. It's usually the worst part about it. But this particular camera was supposed to be fantastic. So I figured that I would give it a shot. I said, you know what? I am in the mood to get a camera for my phone because, I mean, I do use a DSLR, but for the most part, it's cumbersome. You don't want to take it out with you all the time, but you want to have something that's capable of shooting some decent photos. So picked it up and said, let's put it through its paces. So I actually took it to a recent trip to Sydney with me just to see how it would perform. And again, you have the dual camera setup. I believe one's a 12 megapixel, the other one's a 5. Now the Mi A1 has a telephoto lens, so you can actually zoom in. This one doesn't have that. This is used for that depth of field sort of look. So you get that bokeh or bokeh, I'm not really sure how you pronounce it, but it gives you that sort of soft blurring around the edges of a subject. I find that it actually accomplishes this reasonably well. There's only some instances in which, in my limited testing, of course, where the bokeh effect failed to, or it was hard, it found it difficult to stitch sort of that blurred effect, background effect with my subject. But for the most part, for portraits and stuff like that, it is really, really impressive. And it looks just fantastic for the price, really, to be honest with you. The actual color reproduction and everything is spot on. I mean, I always do a little bit of post-processing on all my photos, but it looks really, really good. And obviously stick around because I will have photo samples on here. And that is the biggest thing about this phone. I am super impressed with the quality of the photos that you can get. So if you are looking for something that can shoot really, really good portraits, but also really good landscapes, this is the phone to grab if you're looking for something in the 300 Australian, 220, 250 US sort of budget. One of the things I don't like about the camera is obviously it's taken its inspiration from the iPhone, and you have that big bump there. So that's a bit annoying if you like to use the phone without a case. Luckily, it does come with a case, so it comes right in the box, and it is this smoky color, which I love. I think that's really cool. And you'll notice on the side somewhere, I can't remember where it was, but it says designed by me. I don't know if you guys can see that, but you can see it, and it's a bit raised, it's got a bit of a texture to it, so it just sort of feels a little bit more premium, I guess. But when you slip this case on, you will notice that that camera bump sort of disappears. It's still sort of there, even with the case on, but you'll find that it's pretty solid. It doesn't slip around or anything. Now, I always use my phone with the case. I think that the smoky gray one is really, really cool because it kind of blocks out the Xiaomi logo and everything on the back. It is a bit of a fingerprint magnet. That's not big of a deal. But yeah, so this phone is fantastic. Redmi Note 5, one of the best I've probably ever had. I imagine I will keep this as my daily driver for a while. I can't imagine myself getting anything else to replace it. Now, that doesn't mean I won't buy some new phones for this channel, but I am probably going to stick with the Redmi Note 5 as my daily personal phone. Just think everything about it is fantastic, especially for the price that you get it at. So I'll leave a link down in the description for Aliexpress and maybe some of the other retailers that do offer this phone, but I cannot recommend it enough. And like I said, stick around for some photo samples. I think you'll be really impressed. So guys, that's the Xiaomi Redmi Note 5. Again, just super impressed with what you get for the price. Build quality is fantastic, performance is fantastic, and that camera is really a showstopper. That is a game changer for this price. I think it's fantastic. If you are looking for a well-designed, good-looking phone that also is really good in performance as well as the camera, you can't ask for more, especially at this price range. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all next week with another video. This is Gizmo Joe signing off.